Om 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 Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamasto Ma Vidvishavyahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Narayana Paro Vyaktat Andama Vyakta Sambhavam Andasyantastvime Lokaha Saptadvipa cha Medini. Hari Om. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, we are looking a little bit into the Shankara Bhashyam also. And we are in the 12th verse. Yesterday we saw the Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan is pointing out about the self or the Atman is eternal. And the 13th verse is all about in what form, in what way is it eternal. With an example, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is pointing out to Arjuna. Because Arjuna is afraid of the war and he is thinking of retracting and going away, Bhagavan is allaying his fears. The only way of allaying fears, dvayat bhayam bhavati. Fear comes because of duality. When we give up that sense of duality, then fear is gone. So Bhagavan, through this Sankhya Yoga, he is talking about that one truth because of which the fear of the concept of duality goes away, and along with it fear also goes away. So what is the 13th verse? Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara तथा देहांतर प्राप्ति धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति. देहिनः अस्मिन् देहे यथा, just as yatha dehe, in the body there is a dehi, there is the person living in the body. The house is not you. You are the person who is living in the house and looking out of the window through the house. In the same way, this body is a house, and inside the body there is a person who is looking out through the body and functioning through the body, and that person is called the dehi. In the deha, yatha dehe, this dehi is experiencing a change of youth, a childhood phase, kaumaram. Then he is experiencing the phase of youth, yavvanam. And after the experience of phase of youth, then there is the phase of jara. Jara is the senior age or old age. Yatha, in the same way, tatha, in that way, dehantara praptihi. So the childhood phase is there, the youth phase is there, and the old age phase is there for the body. And after the old age phase, the body dies. Dehantara praptihi. This dehi is also experiencing that state of being beyond the body, after the body. Dehantara praptihi. Therefore, this is a truth. This is a reality. Dhiraha tatra na mukhyati. The wise person who knows this will not be confused, will not be feeling sorrowful, will not be feeling sad. Here, Bhagavan Adisankaracharya, there's a long comment, not so long, maybe a couple of paragraphs. We'll see the first paragraph alone. Dehaha asya asti iti dehi. The one who has a body is called a dehi. Tasya dehinaha deha atman dehavat atmanaha. As if he is this body, he is a self. Asmin vartamane dehe yatha yena prakarena kaumaram kumara bhavaha balya avastha, the phase of childhood. In this body, yauvanam, the phase of youth, yuno bhavaha, madhyama avastha, jara, vayohanihi, jirna avastha, when everything has been exhausted and spent in this body, that's the old age, etaha, tisraha avastaha, anyonya vilakshanaha. They're all different. But here Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, Tasam Prathama Avastha Nashe na Nashaha Dvitiya Avastha Upajanane na Upajananam. So this Atma, the I, the self, does not die when the childhood phase dies and is not born again when the youth phase is born. At the same time, when the youth phase is gone, the Atma does not die and then gets reborn as the old age. It is the same person who is living all through these three states. Avikriyasya eva dvitiya tritiya avastha praptihi atmanaha drishta. So it is seen that the self, the I, the self is a very simple word. The word we use, I come, I go, I eat, I see, I sleep, I am a child, I am a youth, I am an old age person. All these three, the same I is only being used. Tatha तद्वतेव देहात अन्यः देहांतरम तस्य प्राप्तिः देहांतर प्राप्तिः अविक्रियस्य एव आत्मन इत्यर्थः. So this verse says the Atman or I or the self is a vikriya. There is no modification for the I through the movement of all the phases of the body, and even after the body is gone and the life that continues after that, there is no change in the Atman. And now he is considering Arjuna's question. So this is about the Atman. Whereas in the world we see things coming and going, we see things changing. How are we supposed to take those changes in this world? He is giving a piece of valuable advice to Arjuna. It is also very, very useful for us. How much our psychological books have been written, still the psychology of what are all the objects and what is the context that happens that we get attracted to objects and we experience joy, and we know that we experience joy and sorrow, but why we experience the joy and sorrow has not been yet referred in any other psychology book. Whereas in the Bhagavad Gita, the source for joy and sorrow is mentioned here in this verse and what we should do about it. Matra sparshastu kaunteya शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखदाः आगमापायिनो नित्याः तां तितिक्षस्व भारत. Titiksha is one of the 6 qualities which prepare the mind for receiving the knowledge of Vedanta. It is one of the 6 wealths that we can have. So titiksha is forbearance. What is it that we need to forbear? What is it that we need to in the Viveka Chudamani, the explanation for titiksha is given. Sahanam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam chinta vilapa rahitam sa titiksha nigadyate. Sahanam, just enduring, sarva dukkhanam, all kinds of sorrow, apratikara purvakam, without trying to change them, without trying to change the circumstances, enduring the sorrow. This is not for everybody. This is for people who want to know the self, who want to know the truth of who I am. For those people, this quality is mentioned. Sahanam, putting up with all kinds of sorrows that we face without trying to change them, without trying to alter them, without trying to push them away, without trying to run away. And also in the mind, chinta, without worrying about them, vilapa, without talking to others about it. You know what? I had to face through this difficulty. This is very sorrowful. This is very sad. Actually, from the spiritual perspective, sorrows are coming to purify the mind at a faster pace. When sorrows are also, it is like wiping the wall with sandpaper before painting to remove all the dirt, or cleaning the toilet floor with acid and bleaching powder and other things, so that the dirt is removed. In the same way, all the difficulties and sorrows we get are like cleaning, an acid treatment for the sukshma sharira, the subtle body, which makes it very pure and fit and ready for receiving the knowledge of the self. So here in this verse, matraha sparshastu kaunteya. Matraha, tan matraha, the power of seeing, the power of hearing, the power of tasting, the power of smelling, and the power of feeling and touching. Sparshaha tu, when these powers, these five powers, come in contact with their respective objects. The power of hearing comes in contact with sound. The power of seeing comes in contact with form. The power of smelling comes in contact with the object from which the smell is coming. The power of tasting comes in contact with the food item that is being tasted. The power of feeling comes in contact with the skin or the texture, the air, or whatever it is being exposed to. So when they come in contact, what is happening then? You get, here there are two things mentioned: Shita, Ushna. At the physical level, you experience either coldness or you experience heat. Shita, Ushna. This much only we experience from the world. And then at the level of the mind, we experience Sukha, Dukkha. We experience joy and sorrow. In several other verses in the Bhagavad Gita, the third factor that we experience is with the intellect, mana and apamana, respect and censure. But that is not the context here. It is about physical objects. Matra sparshasta kaunteya, shita ushna, sukha dukkha da. They give heat and cold, joy and sorrow. What gives? When my sense organs come in contact with the sense objects, I experience heat and cold, or joy and sorrow. Joy or sorrow, heat or cold. And what is the nature of this heat and cold, joy and sorrow? Agamaha apayinaha. They come, they go. Temperatures change from place to place, from time to time, from day to day. Agamaha apayinaha. Joy changes, sorrow comes. Sukha, dukkha, sukha, dukkha, sukha, dukkha. This is the nature of life. Sometimes it is joyful, sometimes the experience is sorrowful. Sometimes it is joyful, sometimes it is sorrowful. Agamaha apayinaha. They come, they go. Nitya, anityaha. They are impermanent. Impermanent means they don't have a permanent existence. We don't always experience joy, or we don't always experience sorrow. When we experience sorrow, in a few days' time, the sorrow changes and we experience joy. And when we experience joy, maybe in a half a day's time or 1 day's time, the joy goes and the sorrow comes again. Tams, so what should we do? Tams titikshasva. Put up with the joy, put up with the sorrow, put up with the heat, put up with the cold. So there is no point in complaining, because it is going to be there. We are going to experience it. So there is no point in wasting our energy complaining about it. Titiksha means not complaining, not talking about it, not worrying about it. So this is one method that Bhagavan Shri Krishna gives after having understood that the Dehi, the Atman, is eternal. Then there are things that we experience which are changing on a day-to-day basis, on an hourly basis. They keep changing. So what do we do with those experiences? Put up with them. What cannot be cured has to be endured. Matra abhihi miyante shabdadayaha iti shrotradini indriyani matranam sparshaha shabdadibihi samyogaha te shita ushna sukha dukkadaha. Shitam ushnam sukham dukkham cha prayachanti iti. The same thing has been said here. Shitam kadachit sukham kadachit, dukkham tatha, ushnamapi, aniyata rupam, sukha dukhe, punah niyata rupe yataha, na vyabicharataha, ata tabhyam prathak shitoshnayoho grahanam. So sometimes there is cold, sometimes there is heat, sometimes there is joy, sometimes there is sorrow. These things are changing, but the dehi, the one who experiences it, does not change. So what should we do? Just accept it and endure it and let it go. This too shall pass. The next verse, what happens to the person who is putting up with this joy and sorrow, heat and cold, without complaining and without worrying about them, without talking about them? They just endure it. What becomes of those people? Why? There is a purpose for which we do something. There is a purpose for which we practice something difficult. So why do we need to practice this? What happens to our mind when we practice this and become a master of this? Yam hi na vyathayantete purusham purusharshabha samadukha sukham dhiram somritatvaya kalpate. Yam hi, that human being, purusham, na vyathayanti ete, is not moved by this, is not moved by what? Joy and sorrow, heat and cold. Purusham, he is a bull among human beings, meaning he is very powerful. He is unmoved. Bull, why do they say? Because even when there's a loud noise, you see a bull will be just standing steadily without moving. It is not afraid of anything. So, like an elephant, which just passes by even when crackers are being burnt, the elephant does not even show some kind of a shiver. It doesn't matter to the elephant. Shita Ushna Sukha Dukkha Sahataha. So when the person is putting up with them, what happens? Sama, Sukha, Dukkham, Dhiram. This person who is balanced in joy and sorrow, Dhira, is a courageous person, is a wise person also. Saha, Amritatvaya Kalpate. That person becomes fit for attaining that state of immortality or having the knowledge of the self, and thereby he knows who he is and thereby he becomes immortal. Amritatvaya Kalpate. Here the same explanation is given as in the verse, Yam hi purusham sama dukkha sukham same dukkha sukhe yasya tam sama dukkha sukham sukha dukkha praptau harsha vishada rahitam dhiram. So when I am happy, I don't get exhilarated. When I feel sad, I don't feel sorrowful. Dhiram, dhimantam, na vyathayanti, na chalayanti, is unmoved. Nityatma darshanatha. Why is he unmoved? Because he has seen that self, the Atman, which is ever unchangeless and not moving and ever steady all the time. Yathoktaha shitoshnadayaha. He is not affected by all these things. And what happens? Itaha cha shoka moha akritva shitoshnadi sahanam yuktam yasmat. So even without joy and sorrow, putting up with shita and ushna, cold and heat, and not entertaining joys and sorrows, also not bothering about whether we are experiencing joy or experiencing sorrow. Why is it said nasato vidyate bhavaha na bhavo vidyate sataha ubhayorapi drishtontaha tvanayostatvadarshibhi na asataha. Why I should not bother about something? If something is not there, I should not bother about it. Only if something is really there, I should bother about that. So this joy and sorrow, heat and cold, come and go. So they don't have any permanent existence. So you can consider them to be non-existence because they are not permanent in their existence. Na asataha vidyate bhavaha. Asat is untruth. Non-existing things cannot said to be existing. Na abhavaha vidyate sataha. But what exists will never cease to exist, will never be non-existence. Very simple logic. If something is, it is always. If something is not, it never was in the first place. Ubhayorapi drishtaha antaha tu anayoho tattvadarshibhihi. Ubayoho api drishtaha anayoho ubayoho api. Like looking at what is really existing and what is not existing, antaha tu, it is conclusive that tattvadarshibhihi, the people who know the truth, are seeing it in this way. What do the people who know the truth of the reality say? That what does not exist, what is has never any existence, does not exist right now also. What exists can never be non-existent, non-existing, or non-existence. So vikaraha hi saha न असतः अविद्यमानस्य शीतोष्णादेः स कारणस्य न विद्यते. Here the shita ushna, the heat and cold, are non-existing because they come and go. They don't permanently exist, so they are considered non-existing. Meaning you don't need to pay importance, don't need to give importance to that because it just comes and goes. Same way, joy and sorrow comes and goes. So it can be considered to be non-existing because they don't have a permanent existence. Na bhavanam, na bhavaha, astita. It doesn't have any kind of existence. Nahi shitoshnadi sakaranam pramanaihi nirupyamanam vastu sambhavati. Vikaraha hi saha. They are modifications. Shita ushna. They are modifications of temperature. Sukha dukkha, joy and sorrow, they are modifications of feelings. Anything that is modifying in nature, changing in nature, cannot be said to be existing. So, we don't need to give importance to that, rather, focusing on the reality of the self. The next verse, this goes on for a long time because the student and the teacher are engaging in a very, very long debate in many verses because they want to exhaust all methods by which all doubts can be removed. But we will be going on to the next verse because this verse is very simple to understand and there is no complexity here. Avinashi tu tad vidhi yena sarvamidam tatam विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हसि न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति. The 17th verse, avinashitu tad vidhi. Tat is that, is avinashi. It cannot be destroyed at all. Tad vidhi, that which envelops everything in this universe, that consciousness, that awareness, that truth, that reality, that Brahman is avinashi. It cannot be destroyed. Vinasham avyayasya asya. Avyaya, how much ever you take, it cannot be expended. Vyaya means expenditure. If I have 1,000 rupees and I spend 100 rupees, I will only have 900 rupees. But when it comes to ocean water, when I take one bucket of ocean water, the ocean water does not become less because wherever I pour this water, the water again goes back to the ocean in some form or the other. So there is no vyaya, there is no expenditure. In the same way, consciousness has got no vyaya, avyaya. Yena sarvam idam tatam, that which pervades everything in this universe, that which covers everything in this universe is avinashi. It cannot be destroyed. So, Arjuna, don't worry about anything. You are not destroying anything. You cannot destroy anything. Vinasham avyayasya asya na kaschit kartum arhasi. Nobody in this world, nobody in this universe, Bhagavan Adisankaracharya says, Ishwarena api. Even by Ishvara, this consciousness cannot be destroyed. This consciousness cannot be expended. Vinasham avyayasya asya. This inexpendable consciousness cannot be expended, cannot be destroyed by anybody in this universe, including Ishvara, Ishvarena api. So you don't think too much about this. The idea is even Ishvara cannot kill anybody here. So you go ahead and do your duty and fight the war. That is what Bhagavan Shri Krishna is coming towards. In our own application, in our life, it is not a war, but whenever we are doubtful about something, we cannot really make something or we cannot really destroy something. We are just in between. We are doing something to make ourselves happy and to fulfill ourselves. So let us go ahead and do the nice activities that we wish to do. We don't need to worry about the greater picture because there is no destruction in this universe. No destruction is possible. Kim punaha tat asat yat swatma sattam vyabichariti iti uchyate. So, what is that asat which differs from that atma or the self, that which is changing, that which is destroyed? What is that asat? So, sat has been mentioned, avinashi, vinasham avyayasya asya na kashchit kartum arhasi. It cannot be destroyed, it is indestructible, and nobody can destroy it, even God cannot destroy it. So, then what can be destroyed? अंतवंत इमे देहा नित्यस्योक्ता शरीरिणः अनाशिनो प्रमेयस्य तस्माद्युध्यस्व भारत. अंतवंतः इमे देहा, these bodies that you see in front of you, these people that you see, is having an end time. They are having a destruction time. Antavanta ime deha nityasya Nityasyoktah sharirinaha. These people who are in these bodies, the Atma is Nitya. This Atma is eternal, but these bodies are ephemeral. These bodies are transient. They have an end card. They have an end time. So, Anashinaha Aprameyasya. This self is anashi. It cannot be destroyed. Aprameya, this I, the self, the consciousness, cannot be measured by anything. You cannot use any measuring rod or any scale or any yardstick or any measuring equipment to measure this consciousness. Anashinaha aprameyasya, immeasurable. Tasmat, therefore, Arjuna, why are you thinking so much? Just get up and fight. Yudhyasva, fight means do your duty, not exactly fight. In this context, it is fighting in the battlefield. Antavantaha, anto vinasho vidyate yesham te antavantaha. That which knows an end is called antavantaha. Tatha mriga trishnikadau sadbuddhihi anuvritta pramana nirupanaante vichidyatam satasyaha antaha. So when you see a mirage, you immediately think it is water, but when you are shown with proof that it is not water, that water thought comes to an end. So that is called antavantaha. Swapna maya dehadivat cha antavantaha, like a dream or like a fictitiously created image in the computer screen or on the wall. Also, you can project an image, like you show a motion film on the wall. These are all just images, they are not real people there. So that is antavantaha. Nityasya sharirinaha shariravataha anashinaha aprameyasya atmanaha antavantaha iti ukta vivekabihi ityarthaha. This self has got no destruction, but the bodies have destruction. Here also the discussion goes for long. We will go on to the next verse. Shoka mohadi samsara karana nivrityartham Gita Shastram na pravartakam iti etasya arthasya sakshi bhute richau aninaya Bhagavan. This Gita Shastra is meant only to remove sorrow and delusion, which is cause for samsara. And to show that this is the real purport of the Gita Shastra, these verses are being taken from the Katha Upanishad. Ya enam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitaha nayam hanti na hanyate. Ya enam, that person, this self, who thinks this Atma or this I consciousness is the one who kills. Hantaram. Yascha enam manyate hatam. Another person thinks this consciousness, this we say, I am killed, I am killing. We are using these words. This is basically a grammatical exercise. The whole Bhagavad Gita, we use this word very casually. But this grammatical exercise separates the I from the action, from the object, and from the body, mind, and intellect. Ya enam veti hantaram. The one who thinks that I am the killer. Yaschainam manyate hatam. The one also who thinks that I am killed. Ubhau tau na vijanitaha. Both of them don't know who is the I. What is the I? Na ayam hanti, na hanyate. This I neither kills nor is killed. Ya enam prakrutam dehinam veti janati hantaram hanana kriyayaha kartaram. This ordinary body made of 5 elements and 3 gunas, we think that it is a killer. Yaha cha enam anyaha manyate hatam deha hananena hataha aham iti hanana kriyayaha karma bhutam. The other person thinks that he is the object of being killed, object of the killing, that is the one who is being killed. Tau ubau na vijanitaha. Both of them don't know. Na jnatavantaha. Why do they don't know? Avivekena. They don't have the discriminative faculty in their intellect, the sharp sword of discrimination, to show the difference between what is I and what is not I. Avivekena atmanam aham pratyaya vishayam. They don't know the self as that thought or the experience of being I, and they think that it is the body that is doing the work. Hanta aham, hataha asmi aham iti deha hananena atmanam tau vijanitaha tau atmaswarupan abhignyau ityartaha. So I am the killer, I am the killed. When the person thinks in this manner, they really don't know who that I is. They are thinking that the I is the body and engaging in this conversation. How is this Atma avikriya? How is this Atma or I not changing? Iti dvitiyaha mantraha. The second verse, najayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranah nahanyate hanyamane sharire. This I, the self, the consciousness is not born. Na jayate. This consciousness does not die. Namriyate. Va kadachit. Not today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but at any point of time, in the past, in the present, and in the future, this consciousness is never born. This consciousness never dies. Na ayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyaha. Having become something, this consciousness does not change into something in the future. Ajaha. So what is the nature of this consciousness? Ajaha. It is unborn. It is eternal. Ajaha, if it's unborn, it doesn't mean that it does not exist. It is nityaha. It is eternally present, always present. Shashvataha ayam. Shashvataha, shashvat bhavaha. Ever present, all like whenever some guests come to our house and they stay for some more time than we really expected. So the murmuring will start. So they say, Shashvatam, your presence is going to be here, meaning you're going to ever be here in this place. It's like a pun intended. But here, Shashvatam means always present. Ayam Puranaha, Pura api Nava. Everything is Purana means very old, but at the same time very new. The sky is very old, but it does not have wrinkles, it does not gather dust, it does not shrink, or the color has not gone somewhere. It is as fresh as new, as fresh as the first day of creation, how the sky was. In the same way, the sun also Pura api Nava. The air and the wind also, as it was then, it is now. The moon also Pura api Nava. In the same way, consciousness, as it was in the past, however old it might have been, it is still very new. Puranaha, this consciousness, na hanyate, it does not kill. Na hanyamane sharire. When the body is killed, this consciousness is not killed. न जायते न उत्पद्यते जनि लक्षणा वस्तु विक्रिया न आत्मनः विद्यते इत्यर्थः न म्रियते वा शब्दः च अर्थः. So it is not born, it does not die, it does not change. That is the nature of consciousness. Kadachit shabdah sarva vikriya प्रतिषेधैः संबध्यते न कदाचित जायते न कदाचित म्रियते iti evam. So the kadachit, that word is, it just shows that at any point of time it does not born, at any point of time it does not die, at any point of time it does not cease to exist. It yes, yasmat ayam atma bhutva bhavana kriyam anubhuya paschat abhavita abhavam ganta na bhuyaha punaha tasmat na mriyate. So having experienced birth and having experienced existence, the self, the consciousness, does not go into non-experience of existence. It is always there. It is always present. So it does not die. Yaha hi bhutva na bhavita samriyate iti loke uchyate. In the world, why is it said so? The one who is born and does not continue to exist after a period of time is considered to be dead. So in the same way, in that context, the Atma does not die. So the Atma is unborn, it is eternal, it is ever new, it is ancient, but it is ever new. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Even on the death of this body, the self does not die. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enamajam avyayam katham sapurushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam. Veda avinashinam nityam. No, this Atma is avinashi. It cannot be destroyed. These are all, it may be seeming very cliched expressions, which does not matter to us at all. But in moments of fear, when we get the nature of who I am to our heart, when we learn these verses, when we study these verses, when we memorize these verses, and when we chant these verses, when we contemplate on these verses, the power of these verses will not be known in ordinary times, in normal times. But when there is a very difficult situation in your life, when you think that almost you are not going to be there the next moment and something is going to destroy, at that time, these verses will come to our aid in showing our true self. Veda avinashinam nityam. Know that this eternal self is indestructible. Yaenam ajam avyayam. This self is unborn. It cannot be expended. It cannot be made less in any way. Katham sa purushaha partha. Okay, now you're saying I'm killing these people. Everybody is that consciousness. How can you kill them? Katham sa purushaha partha. How can this consciousness be killed? Like when you say consciousness is being killed, it is like telling I am taking a dagger and putting it through space, and I'm telling I'm killing space. It is not possible. Taking a dagger and putting it into water and saying, I'm killing water, or taking a dagger and putting it through fire and saying, I'm killing fire. It is not possible. In the same way, is consciousness is even more subtle than space, water, fire, air, and earth. Avinashinam nityam veda sahapurusha katham kam ghatayati, how come, who can he kill, ghatayati, who can he get killed, kam hanti, who is killing, or who is getting killed, or who is killing. Both are not possible, because that person, the person who is doing the action, is also consciousness. The person who is at the receiving end of the action is also consciousness. So either way, this is not justifying war, this is not justifying killing, but this is talking about the truth of the self. Here, in this context, who am I? The subject of discussion is that. So we should not wrongly take an example that the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us to kill. No, it is talking about Arjuna's duty in the battlefield. Do your duty without fear or favor. That is Krishna's message to Arjuna, because you are actually not destroying anything. Consciousness cannot be destroyed. This also has got a very, very, very long discussion between the master and the disciple. And we go on to the next verse. What is the next verse? Moment. Many pages later. So prakritam tu vakshyamaha tatra atmanaha avinashitvam pratignatam tat kim iva iti uchyate. How is this atman, how is the self indestructible? In what manner? So there is an example that's given here. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinhati naroparani तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. Vasamsi, जीर्णानि vasamsi, old clothes, clothes that have been expended, clothes which are torn, clothes which are frayed, clothes which are frazzled. Jirnani yatha vihaya, what do? You just give up those clothes and wear new ones. Navani grinhati, you wear new clothes. Naraha aparani, so they get new clothes and they wear them. Tatha, in the same way, sharirani vihaya, giving up this body which has been which is in a decrepit condition, which has been digested completely, in the sense it is worn out, it is in a very pitiable condition. There are a lot of disease and destruction in the body. Vihaya jirnani sharirani, these aged bodies, the decrepit bodies are given up. Anyani samyati, the other new bodies are taken up. Samyati means samyakyati, the individual dehi takes up other bodies which are fresh and new and gives up these old bodies. Navani dehi. So there is only this is only giving up the body and taking up a new body, and there is no death here per se. Enam prakrutam dehinam na chindan. Okay, sorry. So another, the next verse, 23rd verse. Vasamsi vastrani jirnani durbalatam gatani yatha loke vihaya parityajya navani abhinavani grinhati upadatte naraha purushaha aparani anyani tatha tadvat evam sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati samgachati. Properly, they enter into another body. Samgachati. Navani dehi, new body. Atma Purushavat avikriyaha eva avikriya eva ityarthaha. The self moves from this body to the next. The self means the subtle body, the one within this gross body, gives up this gross body and moves very well and clearly establishes itself into the next body, which is comfortable and conducive for its existence. And so, kasmad avikriya eva iti aha. Why is this Atma, the self, avikriya, having no modifications? How is it so? Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापः न शोषयति मारुतः नैनं छिन्दन्ति न येनम. This body is not destroyed by weapons, shastrani. Nainam dahati pavakaha. This, sorry, not the body, the consciousness is not destroyed by weapons. The consciousness is not burnt by fire. Nachainam kledayanti apaha. Water does not wet consciousness. When you just take water from a cup and throw it up into space, only some object will get wet, the space will not get wet. In the same way, consciousness does not get wet by water. Na shoshayati marutaha. The wind cannot blow consciousness away. The wind cannot dry consciousness. Consciousness is untouched by the five elements. Enam prakrutam dehinam na chindanti shastrani niravayavatvāt na avayava vibhagam kurvanti shastrani asya asyadini. Shastra asya means the object, the weapons that can be thrown and taken back. They cannot destroy the Atman. They cannot, like, only the body, the limbs can be removed, the head can be cut off or mutilated or whatever can be done. The Atma, nothing can be done to the Atma, the self. Ta snehavat dravyam sneha shoshanena nashayanti vayuhu yenam swatmanam na shoshayati marutaha api. So in the same way, all the other elements also cannot wet or dry or destroy that Atman. The next 24th verse will conclude here today. Achedyoyam adakyoyam akledyo shoshya evacha nitya sarvagatasthanu achaloyam sanatanaha. In the two lines, the first line says what you cannot do to the Atma. Just like the previous verse, it continues on the same lines. What I cannot do to the Atma. The second line talks about what is the Atma, the self. Achedyaha. It cannot be cut into pieces. Avadyaha. Achedyoy. Adahyaha. It cannot be burnt. Ayam. Akledyaha. It cannot be made wet. Akledyaha. Ashoshya. Neither can it be dried. It cannot be cut. It cannot be made wet. It cannot be dried. It cannot be burnt. Ashoshya evacha. So what is that thing that cannot be cut, that cannot be dried, that cannot be made wet, that cannot be burnt? Nityaha, eternal. That consciousness, that self, which always exists. Sarvagataha, it goes everywhere, means it is not that consciousness is moving here and there, it is present everywhere. So it is called Sarvagataha. Sthanuhu, it is like a pillar. It does not move at all. It is very, very steady. There is no question of moving this consciousness about. There is no question of kicking this consciousness about. There is no question of pulling down this consciousness about. There is no question of throwing away this consciousness anywhere. Sthanu, it is very, very powerful. Like a very solid pillar, it stands. Pillar means it does not have that shape of a pillar. Just like an endless pillar, top to bottom, sideways, in all directions. If you have a pillar, so that is that consciousness. Thanuhu. Achalaha, like a mountain that expands in all directions. This consciousness is unmoving. It is steady and stable. Sthanuhu, achalaha, ayam sanatanaha. Very, very, very ancient. There is no beginning to this consciousness. It has always been there. To say Sanatana means something that is very, very ancient. But here, that is why this the religion that we follow in India is called Sanatana Dharma. Always it has been there. There has been no time when it was not there. So consciousness has always been there, Sanatanaha. So living a life of that consciousness, living as consciousness, in consciousness, for consciousness, and offering unto consciousness is Sanatana Dharma in whatever actions we do. Yasmat Anyonya Nasha Hetuni Bhutani Enam Atmanam Nashayitum Na Utsahante Tasmat Nityaha. The Atma is Nitya because, eternal, because the beings or the elements that can destroy each other cannot destroy the Atman. Nityatvat sarvagataha. Sarvagatatvat sthanuhu. Sthanuhu iva sthira iti. Etat. Sthiratvat achalaha. So one word leads to the next. Because it is eternal, it is present everywhere. Eternal means it cannot be in some pocket and not be there somewhere else. It has to be everywhere. And so that is why it is called sarvagata. And because it is sarvagataha, because it is everywhere, it is rock solid like a pillar. Sthanu. And because it is rock solid like a pillar, it is unmoving. Achalaha, like a mountain. Stiratvat achalaha. I am Atma. Ataha, therefore, Sanatanaha, Chirantanaha. It is very, very ancient. Like it is always existing. It was there in the past, it is there in the present, it will be there in the future. Na karanat kutaschit nishpannaha abhinava ityartaha. It has not been born at some point of time because of some reason, or it is not something that is very new. It has always been existing. So the remaining 12 verses we will see tomorrow. Om Sarvesham swastirbhavatu, Sarvesham shantirbhavatu, Sarvesham purnam bhavatu, Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu, Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, Sarve santu niramayaha, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, Ma kasyid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om asatoma sadgamaya, Tamasorma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. हर नमः पार्वती पतये. हर हर महादेव. हरि ओम. जय हरि गोविंद जय नंद लाला, राधा लोला रासविलोला.